Hi, my name is Kyle Lazaretto, and this is my presentation on learning how to code. Ever since I was younger, I've always wanted to learn how to code. I used to play video games all day, every day, and they made me so happy, and I wanted to learn how to make them because I wanted to make my own. With this project, I was finally able to do that. I learned how to code in Java, and I made a game. 419 lines of code, and I couldn't be more proud of it. I decided to get into this project because coding is such a useful and amazing thing to know. It's everywhere. Every device that we use is all based around code. And Java specifically is used worldwide. It's used in apps for the Android operating system, which is used by almost 74% of all phones worldwide. And it's also one of the first languages coders learned, so I was able to do it during this time frame. It's also great for the future. Jobs that require coding are hands down much better than an average job in the US. The Bureau of Labor Statistics found out that computer programmers earn over twice as much as the median income as for all jobs in the United States of America. Java specifically is very versatile. Over 89% of desktops and computers in the US run on Java, and it's known for being able to make good applications because it's so versatile. Android phones use Java in all their apps, and it's known to be one of the easier ones to learn. It was released in 1996 by Sun Microsystems, which was eventually bought by Oracle. And shown here are 4 Android phones. A lot of people don't realize that Android is just the operating system, and all these different phones by all these different companies end up using it. Pretty much all phones except for Apple end up using it and end up using Java. This was the homepage of the website that I used to learn how to code, Codecademy. I wasn't able to do all of the courses on it because they charged a ridiculous rate to be able to get open to all the courses. But I was able to get all that I needed done to be able to code my game. The individual lessons were there, as you can see in these images. You'll see the lessons are all checked off, and I finished those, but I couldn't do all the extra programming projects and tests that they had because those were paid. I was happy with what I learned, and I'm confident in my understanding of Java now. And this was the coding screen that I had to spend quite a few hours learning how to code in. On the side here, you're going to see text. This is where we would learn about it, and then you would scroll down and there'd be little assignments that you had to do here, and here it'll show. And you would code into the box, you would run the code, and then in the black space here, your code would show up and do what you've made it do what you told it to do. And you would have to get all of those right to continue through the lessons. And this is where I coded my game. It's an IDE, an integrated development environment. It's where code is written, and it has all the debugging tools and can run all the code. If there's any errors in the entire compiler, it stops and you have to find it. It can be very difficult at times, but when you finally fix all the bugs and you get your game to work, it's the best feeling in the world. It's in 3 main parts. There's the file explorer, where you go through your files in your project. For example, my project had 2 different classes, as they're called, campaign.java and opponent.java. Those classes work together to make my game. Campaign was where my main code in the game was, and opponent was my opponent that I coded. I'll explain that one in our next slide, how the game works with the opponents. So this is the workspace section where you write all of the code, and down here I have it collapsed a little bit, but that's the console where all the code will show up. So if you print statements, all of the statements that you printed will show up there. And here's my game, campaign. It's a political campaign against one other opponent, and you're competing for the favor of different voter bases. You have the urban group, the rural group, and the suburban group. You're randomly put into one of two parties, the urban or rural parties. If you're in the urban party, you get bonuses when doing things like rallies or television ads. Your popularity in the urban group will go up faster and slower in the rural group, and vice versa if you're in the other party. Your opponent will always be in the other party, so you're going to be running against him for the 52 weeks or the 52 turns that make up a game. After each week, I coded it so it'll show you the polls, and you'll know how much of each voter group, your popularity in each voter group. You need the majority of the popularity in all groups to win, so there's a few different strategies you could use. You could try to get good popularity in each group, or just go after one or two groups to try to get more than your opponent like that. The gameplay is based on random events, where you could do different things each week based on a random number generator that I put in. And based on the number that comes out of it, it'll ask you to make a decision on where to do a rally, what group to target with television ads, what to do if somebody comes up and bribes you. And it's really entertaining. This is how we can play the game, and I can send it to anybody. It's on a website called Replit, which is an open source compiler online. So if you go here to this link, it'll take you to Replit. I'm already logged in, but you can sign in with a Google account just to run the code. You click this button up here, and it'll take a minute as it compiles, because it's a lot of code. And turn off lights, please. Makes it a little easier to see. Now you can see all of my code here. This is one of my classes. This class is 299 lines of code, and this is my other class, opponent, which is another 119. You can play the game here by typing in the first question. It says enter your name. You can enter your name, and then it'll guide you through from there. Turn the lights back on, please. Thank you. All right. Oh. Back to. Perfect. All right, some difficulties that I faced during this assignment was I underestimated it a lot, how difficult creating a game from scratch would be. I thought because it was a text-based game and there wasn't graphics, I would be able to do it in under the 20 hours. I was wrong. I enjoyed it though. I had a lot of fun writing all the code, especially debugging all the code. Even though it was difficult, it was just really satisfying when the code finally ran and just worked all together. Another difficulty that I had was adding new features. I always wanted to add one more thing, I kept telling myself, which would force me to write entire sections of code just so everything would all fit together, and I'm happy how it turned out. It was difficult, but it worked out in the end. It was also difficult learning pretty much a new language and creating something with it without much practice, because all the practice was locked behind paywalls on the Code Academy website. What I learned is coding is very difficult, but it's very doable. It seems overwhelming in the start, but once you get the hang of it, you really get into it and you start to enjoy it. You don't have to code anything crazy. You can just code for fun, and you can code for programs of any size. It could be something small, or it could be something big, or medium size like my game, I like to think. In the beginning, it's a little tedious, but it's not boring because you're always doing something new. You're always trying to solve your way around a problem. And I think that's the real enjoyment that I get out of code, is that there's no one answer, and there's a million different ways that you can make your thing work, and you need to find it on your own. It's an amazing skill to have, and I would recommend it to anybody that's living in our increasingly digital world. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you guys try out my game. Thank you.